So how many folks love building communities? It's like super exciting stuff, right? We're going to bring the energy level up, because I know everybody just wants to drink right now. So what Natalie and I want to do is actually talk about the importance of this subject. And I really do mean that's important, because I think most of us as marketers really look at the fact that we make decisions based on data. But the question is, do we really? Because if you look at this classic example, and I apologize, I stole this from our head of product, Deep. He's mad that I'm taking credit for this amazing graphic and idea. But when you look at it, the idea here is this architect's like, hey, this is the way it's going to work. Here's what everybody wants. And I build this amazing path, and I'm blazing the trail, and everybody's just going to go exactly where I want, and they're going to follow. And then all of a sudden, you look at the practicality. You look at the actual customers. You're like, well, actually, I just want to walk right down the middle. And so much so that I'm actually going to kill all that grass to prove a point to you that I'm not going to follow your rules. And what we've seen today in the research is that the IT committee is now adopting social media for very specific purposes. And those purposes dictate around the data that we've seen about discussions, forums, challenging ideas, validating what they've heard from vendors, their peers. All of this leads to the point that we ultimately, as tech marketers, need to take on the task of really building communities and harnessing the power of this global collective that is developing through social, and making sure that we help facilitate dialogue between peers, between industry experts, and ultimately between all of you as brands, who I would say have an extremely critical voice in this process. Because it's really not complete. What would the world be like if you just had this idea of virtualization, but you had no actual product? If you had nobody at that company that's setting the vision of what does virtualization need to be 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 24 months from now. So this idea of getting all of you into the conversation is really critical. I would say right now the peer part of it, the expert part of it, is happening naturally across social platforms, and in particular on LinkedIn, as you see groups continuing to grow, more and more of them popping out, some highly specialized, some huge groups just talking about cloud computing in general. But it's this idea of getting brands into the conversation that we want to focus on and allow Natalie to talk about, how does HP approach this? And when we at LinkedIn look at it, there are many different opportunities and different ways to create community. So I think traditionally, folks think about things like their website, a microsite, or a LinkedIn group. But there are more ways, as you've heard before this, to create engaging experiences, to really bring people together, share content, have discussions. And so the first page, via the company page, is looking at how can you actually get a following. So you can build a following, get followers of your company page to be able to communicate to them, as Jake mentioned earlier, about industry news, about new product announcements of yours, so that they're kept informed and up to date. That's a very good way of using community on LinkedIn. You can create actual groups. So rather than just communicating to people, allowing them to engage and kind of connect with that content, share it, comment on it, you can create a physical presence of 24/7 conversation on LinkedIn to create this dialogue back and forth of folks going to an event like this. You go back and you're like, hey, I just heard LinkedIn make this pretty bold claim and make this statement about how their product works. Anybody here actually doing this? What's the real world here? Help me understand, is this a reality or is this just some marketing hype that this Mike Weir guy's talking about? And these groups are the growing part of what we've heard in the research now. They really do want that ongoing conversation. The other part is SlideShare. So as David Thacker had mentioned, that's to us a pretty big acquisition. And a big part of our overall content strategy is the ability not only just to use SlideShare as an actual kind of owned media presence. And being able to host your professional content there, make it discoverable, also now via integrations with LinkedIn to make it very shareable. And then finally, advertising on our side is continuing to evolve to a point where we want it to be very engaging. We want the purpose to be about engaging with content, bringing people into conversations within groups or other platforms. You know, the idea of launching SlideShare content ads to be able to actually serve up PowerPoint content on LinkedIn.com for people to be able to engage with it, comment on it, share it, is one of the steps forward that we're looking to make to bring more content and conversation into that advertising experience as well. But the really big thing here, and I know people don't kind of like this, and I've been a tech marketer for a long time myself before joining LinkedIn, is that this traditional notion of lead generation, a lot of people don't like it when I say this, but it's like, it's kind of a fallacy to some degree. We buy and buy and buy a lot of leads, but it does create waste. There's marketing dollars that we're wasting because how many folks have 100% call rate on the leads they send over to their sales team? I can't even raise my hand on that. For my sales team in the room, there's ones that they don't want to call on. Not every lead is equal, right? And this is a challenge. But what I tell you is that the opportunity being presented to us today via social is that we now have even better mechanisms, even better technology today to find those hand raisers. And if we put the effort in, it very much rewards us later on because we're earning these leads. We're literally having clients say, I like your opinion. I like this content. I want to talk to you more. So when you look at, again, some of the stuff that David Thacker was speaking to earlier on the lead generation is we want to create hand raiser moments. So you can create themselves by fostering a group. And increasingly, we'll look at ways to create them for you as you're sharing content across the platform so that if people do really like the content, if they like your opinions, they can just raise their hand and say, yep, please give me a call. And as we do that, we're going to start shifting some of the balance of just nonstop buying of leads versus earning more and more of them. And unfortunately, I don't know, where's that balance perfect? Because it's going to change. It's going to be different for everybody. Not everybody's the industry leader who can just get a lot of people reaching out to them. So some of us will be here. Some of us may reach 50-50 parity. But the idea of just putting more time and effort into engaging in conversations to earn leads is what we're hearing the IT committee asking us for. And we as a platform love rallying around our members and what they're asking for. So we're going to keep working on building opportunities for you to get into those conversations and find those hand raisers. So we'll skip over that one because you guys heard Jake talk about it. But let's not fall back on our traditional thing of talking about ourselves too much. And I'll leave that as my parting thought as I ask Natalie to join me and start talking about specifically how HP is approaching this idea of community.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. Make sure my mic is on here. So I'll follow Mike's lead and try to make sure you don't fall asleep because we're standing between you and alcohol. I noticed earlier people were sharing something about them that's not on their LinkedIn profile, so I'll share mine with you. I have a 30-pound cat. His name is Leo. I'm pretty sure he's plotting my death as we speak. He's done a lot of stunts, like try to suffocate my head and face while I'm sleeping. He does usually take over the pillow and does try to trip me as I'm walking down the stairs. So not on my LinkedIn profile. Maybe it should be. What do you guys think? Should I add it? All right. Well, we're very proud at HP to actually be the largest brand in the world on LinkedIn. We are one of the first brands to actually open a company page on LinkedIn. And till this day, we actually are the first to hit 1 million. We are connected to 1/4 of the entire population of LinkedIn on first connection and 70% on second connection. So if you ask HP if we're serious about community, yes, we are. We are very, very serious about community and very proud to have these people in our community on LinkedIn. So I'm going to tell you about 2 key learnings that we've had that kind of lead to hits and misses, because this is a learning every day for us. We learn a lot about how our customers are using LinkedIn, how they want to communicate with HP as a brand on LinkedIn, and how we can really drive, nurture, and earn those leads, to Mike's great point. So the 2 key learnings I'm going to share with you is, first, never underestimate the power of relevance. What are people talking about, and how can you make sure you're part of those conversations in a relevant way for your brand? The next is leveraging natural behaviors. There are things that people are doing on LinkedIn. It's predictable. Watch their behaviors, watch how they're interacting with the tool, and find a way for your brand to do the same, to be a part of that. So when it comes to the power of relevance, the most successful piece of content we actually have ever had on LinkedIn was for Veterans Day. So we saw a lot of discussions happening on Veterans Day on LinkedIn, elsewhere on the internet during this time frame, and a lot of people talking about what it meant to have their fathers, husbands, or people themselves actually serve in the military. Obviously a very emotional topic, especially for Americans. And when we started talking about how we could potentially play in this conversation, we were talking about how our founding fathers, Bill and Dave, they actually served in the military. So we decided just to tell this simple story, to thank the veterans of the world, but also let them know we also have roots in serving in the armed forces. And what was really funny about us just posting this content with a simple thank you attached to it is people really started to say, wow, HP is not just a brand, it's a company with a heartbeat. It's a place that maybe I would want to work, and I also am in the military, or my father was in the military, husband, spouse, son, and people started to really take this content, and it lit up like fire across LinkedIn. So we were really excited to see that happen. People did come back, and they were checking out the career section of our LinkedIn page. They were starting to interact with our brand more, and we saw a nice little boost in people who joined our community. So just a fun, clever way to really tie the community and what they're talking about to something that was actually powerful for our brand. And what we found with this content that we put out there, just talking about Veterans Day and a nice big thank you, is we had 4 times higher engagement on that one post than other posts we've had on our LinkedIn page, 6 times more shares, and 7 times more comments, right? A very emotional topic. So really nice way to kind of surprise and delight the community, not always go at them with technology, which is obviously our bailiwick, but really talk about something that was at the heart of what they were doing. The next is, how do you actually start to leverage natural behavior? So one of the things that we've known about LinkedIn, and we are really excited about, is LinkedIn is one of the only communities, I would say, in the world where B2B customers come and they actually ask each other what to do. Whether it's what technology they should buy, so obviously HP cares about that, being the largest technology company in the world, or it's just about how do you run your small business? How do you handle taxes? How do you do things that are really going to make your business move faster or more efficiently? So because we saw this behavior, we thought we could add some perspective here and really give them a platform to be much more successful. So when we start talking about speed of a business, we actually had a really cool product launching called the OJ Pro X, which is our new printer. It is the fastest printer in the world, 70 pages per minute, in case you want to go print. We actually won a Guinness Book World Record for this. So we really wanted to make sure that people that were in business knew that if they needed a new printer and they want to keep moving at a very fast and efficient pace at their company, this is a great product for them because it will help them go fast. But you can't just go at them with a hard sell. You can't just say, go buy this printer. How do you find a way to make it relevant to them? How do you find a way to make sure it's about productivity, it's about efficiency, and things that move fast? Let's see. Hold on one second here. So what we decided to do is leverage our fan base, people that were really talking about how to move fast in the business. We actually have a group on LinkedIn called Small Biz Nation, where a lot of small businesses come together. And we said, we want you to share your tips and tricks. We want you to tell us, how do you move your business forward? Not about technology, just in general. What are your tips and tricks for other business owners? So what we found is that people were starting to share these really great stories. How do they think about guest blogging? How do they walk while they work to keep their bodies moving and in motion? These tips and tricks started to come very, very rapidly at a very fast pace on our LinkedIn page. What we also decided to do is put a little incentive up behind it. Let's make it fun. World's fastest printer, world's fastest businesses. Let's talk about the world's fastest cars. So we actually have a sponsorship with IndyCar, and the person that went out there and actually gave the most tips and the most advice and got the most shares actually won a trip to go to the Indy races with them and one other person, and really just enjoyed the whole idea and notion of speed. So just a little fun that we were having on the whole concept of speed. And what we found was actually really, really compelling for us because, again, we played into that natural behavior on LinkedIn. So we reached about 10 million people with this contest, which was really great and fun. We had tremendously positive sentiment, which I'll show you here in just a moment. We absolutely connected with the IT DM, which was really important to us, the IT decision maker. But most importantly, is these people actually went back to the website and they checked out the product. Now you could say, okay, they clicked on it and they left. No, they actually spent 53% more time on our website about this product, meaning they were reading about it, they were checking it out, and they wanted to understand if this product could actually work for them. This product did sell significantly. So this did work for us by simply just letting them do what they are already doing, which is sharing tips and tricks with each other and making our product more relevant in those discussions. And the quality of the conversation was outstanding, right? This is not about, hello, I'm going to go ahead and put a comment out there because I want to win your contest and this is an entry. It was truly tips and tricks back. They were talking about technology, even though we didn't ask them to. Sometimes about HP, sometimes not. And it was a great forum for us to be able to do that. And what was great, too, is most of the people who participated had more than 500 connections in their LinkedIn network. So when they shared and they participated, it went even further. So really just a fun, engaging way, again, to leverage what they're already doing.
Excellent. So we have a couple minutes for a few questions. Am I live? OK. So we have a couple minutes for a few questions. And I know community can be a very challenging thing. So I would encourage folks, we've got one over here. We might need you just to speak up. Wait for it. Here comes the mic.
My name's Alpa, and I'm with Digital DNA Infusion. So we do product marketing and product management consulting. So quick question, I think more addressed to Mike. Mike, LinkedIn, like Facebook in the AOL of the 2000s, is a walled garden, to just use industry terminology from many years ago. What are your advertising plans with respect to expanding outside the walled garden to just the web and the mobile world?
Sure. All right, so what can I say without getting in trouble? What I'll start with is one thing that we do regularly, and it's actually an example that Natalie had just illustrated, is that one of the really great things about the platform and what members look for is highly relevant and personalized content and insights. And so one of the ideas that HP was playing off of that does go outside of our walls is very much introducing a personalized insight on LinkedIn that then takes them to a full-blown experience via like a microsite. And we use the API data that we have to ultimately very much customize that experience, deliver that insight, but then allow them to engage and share. So we can put different content up there depending on the type of individual that you are, type of professional that you are. But beyond that, once you're submitting your ideas, you have the ability to share that across social networks. So we don't always keep it within our walls. What we like to do actually is know that there are other social platforms or other places people have conversations. And so the idea is you're delivering this idea. It can be equally as impactful if you were to share that on Twitter or Facebook, right? So we don't want to hold that back. We believe that we have a very unique point of view and a lot of unique context to our platform that allows us to deliver a very customized and personalized experience that if you want to share broadly, go for it. I mean, it's all the better for HP and others to just keep reaching more and more folks and bringing them back to that original conversation within the group and within that API experience. But we don't stop them from sharing outside of our walls. Question up front? We have the mic nearby.
Oh, I have another question.
Okay, and then we'll bring one up here,
Okay.
please. Thanks.
So I have two questions, Mike. And the first one, we talked about it recently. What recommendations do you have for companies who are trying to build a community that can cannibalize the group that the company has in LinkedIn? So some recommendations there that I think it would be important for people to hear. And second, what do you think about gamification as a way to drive traffic to the groups in LinkedIn?
I can give a couple of thoughts, and then I'll let Natalie answer as well. So, for me, it's always about going where the people actually are and where the conversation is very natural. So we as much as possible work with folks that are building their own groups to try to use where the community already exists. If you already have a community, there are ways that we can kind of help bring more relevance to that, whether it's just being able to find highly valuable content that's getting engagement on LinkedIn and sharing it within those communities, whether it's taking the idea of what HP did and within that community originating the experience, bringing them into the API experience that we can create, where once they log in with their credentials, we then customize the experience, give them a personalized insight, and allow them to share back into HP's original community or across their social networks. So I think there's an element of got to have a one-on-one conversation for it, but there are definitely ways that folks like HP have taken on the idea of we have a community, like an Enterprise 2020 platform. We're recruiting our own people there, having our own HP-centric conversation, and then tying it to a small business nation group on LinkedIn and sharing back and forth great conversations and referring people back and forth as appropriate.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great question. And when we think about a lot at HP, and for us, it's not even just about the communities we have online, like 2020, which is a great example of an HP-owned community, if you will, as part of HP.com. But we even look at events. So we have a very big event every year called Discover, which is where we showcase our product solutions to IT professionals. And we make sure LinkedIn's a significant part of that event. So you're taking the physical world and helping bring it digital. So for example, we piloted with them, and it was so much fun, and it was fantastic. A way for you and people you're connected to on LinkedIn, if you're both at Discover, through GPS, you can see where each other is in the conference hall. So just a really fun way to continue to integrate LinkedIn into the other elements of HP. So for us, it's integration. It's not about a standalone entity that we look at separately. It's really about how do we bring that, because people are comfortable using it, they're confident using it, they feel safe using it, and so it's been a great way for us to interact with them.
We have time for one last question.
Hi, thank you. My name is Derek Slater. I'm the editor of FierceCIO.com. Natalie, question for you. The ROI question has come up already several times during the course of the day. Curious, absolutely recognizing there's value in likes and engagement and all of these things. To what degree are you trying to tie these activities to leads, sales, et cetera?
We definitely care a lot about leads and sales, but we know that it's part of a journey. You can't just go to the bottom of the funnel and not focus on the top. And people are at different places, especially on the enterprise side. It takes longer to nurture that lead than maybe you want to buy a laptop and you're on the consumer side. So for us, we look at LinkedIn as a significant part of nurturing, but also as a key gateway to drive back to the website. So in the example that I shared with you, we saw a massive increase in traffic to our website. And the fact that they spent 53% more time on our site reading about the products, that's driving demand. And that is no longer about just some social content that's out there that perhaps is driving engagement. This is now closing the loop and closing the funnel. We actually had a hard time keeping that printer on the shelves. And that was one of the most significant marketing investments we made, was that LinkedIn program. So we do see the return on investment, and definitely on the enterprise side is, again, a significant piece to keep nurturing. You got to keep nurturing that audience.